What if the patterns ruining your relationships, your career, your confidence weren't your fault? What if they were installed before you ever had a chance to choose them? In this video, we'll uncover the hidden code shaping your life and how to finally break it. Because real change doesn't begin with motivation. It begins with awareness. You tell yourself, tomorrow I'll wake up early and start fresh. But when the alarm rings, you hit snooze. You plan to finally go to the gym, but your feet take you to the couch. You promise to speak your truth, but the moment arrives and you shrink. You convince yourself it'll be different next time, but next time feels exactly like the last. Not because you don't want change, but because you've been trained to delay it. You say yes when you want to say no. You pull away when someone gets too close. You scroll instead of starting. You shrink to avoid conflict. You keep dating versions of the same pain, and you wonder, why? The answer isn't that you're weak, or lazy, or broken. It's that you've been patterned. Invisible instructions, installed before you ever had the words to resist them. Maybe every time you were criticized as a child, you learned that love is conditional. And now, one comment at work ruins your whole day. Maybe you were praised for being the good one. So now, even as an adult, disappointing others feels like betrayal. So you betray yourself instead, over and over, until you barely recognize the person staring back in the mirror. Maybe deep inside, you don't fully believe you deserve happiness. So the moment it gets close, you find a way to destroy it. These aren't flaws. They're someone else's fears living inside your nervous system. And the question is, are you still running on a script written by someone else? What if you're not failing? What if you're being programmed to fail? Because the most dangerous patterns are the ones you don't see. They hide in your reactions. They disguise themselves as personality. They whisper, "This is just who I am," while they steal your choices. But here's what they don't want you to know. The moment you see the pattern, it loses power over you. The moment you name it, you separate yourself from it. The moment you pause, you remember you have a choice. So don't look away. The pattern that brought you here is ready to be broken. Now that you know how patterns form, let's talk about where they trap you. Not with chains, not with walls, but with invisible rules you didn't agree to and yet still obey. There are 3 invisible prisons that shape almost every decision you make. The approval prison, the safety prison, the familiar prison. Let's begin with the first, the approval prison. You act like yourself until someone's watching. You speak your truth until it might upset someone. You dress for expression until you fear judgment. This is the approval prison, and it's built on the idea that belonging must be earned. As children, we learned quickly, connection is survival. So we shape-shifted, smiled when we were sad, played easy when we were angry, became who they liked so we wouldn't be left behind. But now, you're still auditioning for love you already deserve, still editing yourself to be more acceptable, still asking, do they like me? Instead of, do I like me when I'm around them? The second is more subtle, the safety prison. You don't take risks, not because you're lazy, but because safety was survival. You don't say what you need, not because you're weak, but because silence once kept the peace. Your nervous system doesn't care about success. It cares about familiar survival, even if that means staying small. So you avoid uncertainty, even when it holds your next breakthrough. You choose comfort, even when it costs you purpose. And then there's the third, the familiar prison. This is the one you don't notice until it's already making your choices for you. You date the same pain in different people. You repeat the same arguments with different faces. You sabotage the good things, not because you want to lose them, but because they feel unfamiliar. To the unhealed mind, chaos feels like home, so peace feels suspicious. You'll crave healing, but unconsciously chase what hurt you, because it's what you know. These prisons are invisible, but their consequences aren't. They shape what you allow, what you tolerate, what you pursue, what you expect. And the worst part, they convince you this is just who I am. But you're not the mask you wear in a meeting. You're not the silence you choose in a fight. You're not the fear that holds you back. You're what's underneath the pattern. So stay with me, because later in this video, we'll begin the process of undoing it all. Not with force, not with guilt, but with the most powerful weapon of all, awareness. And once you see the walls, you stop calling them home. Now that we've seen the prisons, the emotional walls that shape your life, we need to ask, how are they built? And when? The answer starts early. Earlier than most people think. The critical window, age 0 to 7. This is when the brain is in a hypnotic, sponge-like state. What you see, feel, and experience in these early years doesn't just influence you, it programs you. No filter, no rational thinking, no defenses, just raw absorption. Every argument between your parents became part of your blueprint for love. Every time you were ignored when you cried shaped your sense of worth. Every time love was withheld as punishment taught you that affection must be earned. You don't remember the lessons, but your nervous system does. And that's why, today, you might overthink every text you send. You might fear being too much or not enough. You might chase success, but feel empty when you get it. That's not personality. That's programming. The survival mechanism now adds survival to the mix. Because your young brain wasn't just absorbing, it was adapting. When safety was inconsistent, your brain learned to stay hyper-alert. When approval was unpredictable, you became a people pleaser. When chaos was the norm, your body normalized adrenaline. These aren't conscious choices. They're protective patterns. And here's the hard part. Your body still thinks it needs them. You don't avoid conflict because you're passive. You avoid it because once, speaking up got you hurt. You don't overwork because you're ambitious. You overwork because once, love came through performance. What feels like self-sabotage is often self-protection, running on outdated settings. The repetition compulsion. Now we get to the trap that keeps it all in place. The loop. Freud called it repetition compulsion, the drive to repeat familiar emotional experiences even when they hurt. Why? Because the brain craves the known, even when it's painful. So you date the same type of person. You recreate childhood dynamics. You feel drawn to situations that mirror your past, because some part of you wants to finally master what once wounded you. It's not logical. It's emotional. It's not your fault, but it is your pattern. And once you see the pattern, you can begin to disrupt it. Because everything you've learned can be unlearned. And the cycle you're in can end with you. Not by force. Not by pretending you're fine. But by going back to the source and choosing something new. You've grown. You've read the books, watched the videos, promised yourself this time would be different. But then, you find yourself in the same kind of relationship. Again, different face. Same emotional script, the same chase, the same fear, the same silence that feels too familiar. It's not because you're broken, it's because your nervous system is chasing the emotional climate it was built in. You get close to success and suddenly feel the urge to disappear. You procrastinate. You self-sabotage. You get sick or overwhelmed or distracted, not because you don't want it, but because, on a deeper level, success feels like exposure. What if you're seen? What if you're not enough? What if they realize you've been faking it all along? Right before your biggest breakthroughs, you crash. You've seen it happen. Momentum builds, clarity rises, then, boom. Conflict, crisis, collapse. It's not the world against you. It's the old code pulling you back to normal. And the voice in your head, it doesn't sound like you. It sounds like the voices that raised you, the ones who told you to be realistic, to stop crying, to lower your expectations. You internalized them, and now they wear your voice. So if you've ever wondered why you keep circling the same patterns, this is why. You're not broken. You're not cursed. You're just running a script that was written before you even knew you had a choice. And the next chapters, they're about how to change that. Let's be clear. This isn't about fixing yourself. You're not broken. You're programmed. And every program can be rewritten. So how do we begin? Step 1. Awareness. You can't shift what you haven't noticed. Awareness isn't just seeing, it's recognizing. It's the pause between impulse and action. The space where choice begins. The moment you name the loop, you break its spell. Start there, in the noticing. Begin by naming the loops. Notice your reactions. Pause before you act. Once you see the code, it loses its grip. Step 2. Reassociation. Now that you see it, create a new pathway. Instead of choosing what's familiar, choose what's true. Trade safety for growth. Trade silence for honesty. Trade avoidance for action. Over time, your brain begins to favor this new pathway. What once felt unfamiliar starts to feel like home. Step 3. Integration. This isn't a one-time shift. It's a quiet revolution. Start small. Let your truth echo in your morning rituals, your tone in difficult conversations, the way you honor your energy. Make alignment your compass, not approval. Each choice becomes a thread that weaves a new identity. This is how you come home to yourself. Keep choosing alignment over approval and freedom over familiarity. Every small choice reclaims a piece of you. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be conscious. Because the moment you awaken, the pattern begins to break. And that's the beginning of becoming who you really are. Before you go, reflect on this. What's one pattern you've recognized in yourself lately? Maybe it's people-pleasing. Maybe it's shrinking when you should speak up. Maybe it's sabotaging joy before it fully arrives. Drop it in the comments. Just one sentence. Name the pattern and what it's costing you. Then ask yourself, what's one small way I can interrupt this loop today? And remember this, you are not your patterns. You are the awareness that can see them.